Hi, this is Gurasi Singh, and you're listening to my Thick Accent podcast. So, before I introduce my guest today, I would like to give you a little bit of history lesson of what we are actually getting into today. So, Taliban is an Islamic fundamentalist group emerged in the early 1990s, which swiftly rose to power in 1996 in Afghanistan, imposing a strict form of Sunni Islam. They enforced severe punishments and curbed freedoms. Following the 9/11 attacks, the US led coalition expelled the Taliban in 2001, and in the subsequent years saw a resurgence marked by targeted assassinations and territorial gains. And in 2020, a peace deal with the US paved the way for the return to power in 2021. The rapid takeover of Afghanistan led to widespread displacement and uncertainty, affecting millions. The Taliban's promises about rights and governance are uncertain. The world hasn't accepted their rule, and the situation in Afghanistan is still uncertain, especially for things like women's work and education. And my guest today emerged from the intricate tapestry of her homeland, Afghanistan. A beacon of resilience and hope, found herself amidst of the Taliban's takeover, a quirky shift that would shape her journey. Growing up amidst the complexities of war, like any child, dreamed of a future painted with endless possibilities. In the corridors of her imagination, she envisioned herself as a doctor or even the president, a leader who would transform Afghanistan into a haven free from pain and suffering. However, the harsh realities of being an Afghan girl unfolded before her eyes, and the constraints placed upon her peers became starkly apparent. Her dreams collided with the harsh truths of forced marriages, an experience that would ignite her, resolved to challenge the limitations imposed on Afghan girls. Her vision transcended personal aspirations. It became a mission to eradicate the shadows that dimmed the hopes of every child in her homeland. Forced to confront the encroaching war in 2007, her family, along with many others, sought refuge in Kabul, a city, a juxtaposition of opportunity and fear, became a battleground for survival. Yet, amidst these struggles, she found solace in education, navigating a space where boys and girls studied together, breaking barriers and nurturing her courage. The fateful day of August 15, 2021, marked the shattering of her hopes and dreams as the Taliban reclaimed Afghanistan. The sun of optimism set, but she refused to let her spirit break. In the face of oppression, she sees education as a potent weapon, a tool to resist and defy the attempts to silence Afghan girls. Today, she stands as a symbol of unwavering courage, founder of Code Green Afghanistan, bridging worlds and amplifying the ideas of Afghan girls. Recognized for her efforts in digital innovation, she exemplifies the spirit that refuses to be extinguished. Join us as we delve into her extraordinary journey where courage meets domination and where the power of accessible education becomes a beacon for change. Please welcome Muzhda Akbari.
Thank you so much for such a great introduction. And I would like to also take opportunity and send my warm highs and hellos greeting to everyone who are watching us or listening to us. And also thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be part of your amazing work, your podcast. And I once again thank you so much for that amazing introduction.
Absolutely, Mujta. It's a pleasure to have you. And I feel like people like you needed to be highlighted. And I am actually honored to have you on the podcast, you being just a 17, 18-year-old and making that indelible mark in this Canadian landscape or just in this world. I could not skip talking to you and letting my listeners know about you as well. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so before we dive deeper into all that I have said, I just want to start a little bit on the lighter note. And since in my season 2 of the podcast, I am trying to turn up the fun factor a little bit, I want to start with some fun questions. Okay,
First.
so tell us, what is your go to breakfast?
Oh my gosh. This is actually, we are part of the northeast of Afghanistan. So it's called Badakhshan. And in Badakhshan, we have this special type of tea. We call it shur chai,
Okay.
which is made up of like milk and salt. It is like it sounds weird, but it is so delicious. I love it. So like every morning, it is my go breakfast. Like every morning I have it. It works like coffee, but it's much delicious.
Okay. It's not weird to me because we also have something called the masala chai, and masala itself means like spice and all sort of like spices mixed together. And so I know what you're saying, like this mixture of salt and sweetness in it. But do you just eat it, like drink it just like that, or with something you eat something along with it?
Yeah, and just as you said, like, so we have different types of it, and then like sometimes when it's like a special day, we put some nuts in it.
Okay.
We have some like cream in it, and then we sometimes cook some cookies. It's
Okay.
also a salty cookies, and then we eat with that. So it has like different forms, but the initial one, like the default version of it, is just like tea. We just yeah, just like coffee or tea.
Okay. Perfect. So my next question is, share a favorite song or a dialogue or a movie and tell us why it's significant to you.
Wow, it's a hard question because like I'm also like someone I love music. It is like a big part of our culture
Yeah.
too. And mostly like I listen to Persian or either like Farsi
Okay.
songs. So sometimes when other people like in other countries ask me like who is your favorite singer, like I say, okay, I have to think which one in here because like I love our songs better. But then apart from that, okay, which one? It's hard to choose. I think I would choose one book.
Hmm.
There's one book called The Alchemist. If you have heard it,
Absolutely.
like oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this book it literally changed my life because I remember when I was in Afghanistan. Of course, navigating with what is happening it was hard, but when I found this book, it kind of changed my perspective towards life. And then the fact that whatever you go through is kind of a lesson, and all of these things will give hands together so they can reach you to the story of your life.
Yeah.
So I love this book and I read it in one day. It was my first time to read a book in a day. And I've been reading it like most of the time. I think I've read it 4 times.
Mhm.
So I love this book and it kind of changed my life.
No, it indeed is it's an amazing book. I have read that as well. But coming back to the question, you don't have to anglicize your likings, right? And I'm telling you that because I remember in my class when I came to Canada, people would say, "Oh, we were actually asked to make like a presentation of our favorite bands or like a favorite stars or whatever." And mine, I had no, like literally I had like no recognition of whatever they were talking about. So I actually end up sharing whatever I liked from India, or the songs I listened to India. So I'll ask you the same thing again. You can share any particular song, movie, whatever you listen to. Share with us that.
Yeah, so okay, then there is one song. It's a Pomiri song. It also comes from our area, which is a northeast area of
Okay.
Afghanistan, Badakhshan. So this Pomiri song is a very very old song. It's like a traditional song that each generation pass it, and then it has a different version of it.
Hmm.
And then I like maybe like once or twice a week, I just listen to it and keep dancing. I
Okay.
love this song. So it is like very folk. Like we have our own musical instruments used in it.
Hmm.
So I really love that song. It's like a Palmyra version of song.
Okay. And is it like found on Spotify or like in YouTube? Where can one find it if they want to listen?
I think it will be in Spotify and mainly in YouTube because I listen it in YouTube.
Okay.
And then I will share the name of it,
Absolutely.
but it's like a Palmyra music.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put the link to that in the show notes for anybody who's interested for sure. Okay.
Oh, thank
Awesome.
you.
So tell us, if you had to teach one phrase in your mother tongue, what would it be and what does it mean?
Yeah, one phrase. Okay, so in Afghanistan we say tashakkur, or yeah, we say,
Tashakur?
yeah, tashakkur. It means thank you, and I really love this phrase. I know, like tashakkur. So we mostly like change it different ways. Like
Hmm.
it has different versions regarding to a person. Sometimes when they're like mainly formal, we use different version of it.
Okay.
But like tashakkur, it means like thank you, and I love this phrase.
Hmm. Love that. That's awesome. Okay. So, lastly, if you could teleport back to a particular place from your home country for a day, where would it be and what would you do?
Yeah, I think again, like mostly I mentioned although I grew up like a kind of some most of my life, not most of my life, part of my life in Kabul. I
Yeah.
love Kabul, but my favorite place in Afghanistan is my northeast area of Afghanistan, Badakhshan.
Okay.
The place I grew up in a village. It is
Hmm.
like a village for 11 years of my life. And I think that vibe that I grew up there was just like movies, like
Hmm.
those old movies. And like whenever I talk with a friend here who don't know anything about Afghanistan, I say, whenever peace came to Afghanistan, I will take you to Badakhshan or come to Badakhshan.
Okay.
So I will show you everything because like that part of the world, like in Badakhshan, it's totally
Hmm.
different to any other part of the world. The culture is different, the language is different, people are different. So yeah, whenever hopefully peace came, I will maybe take you there. Like I will
Absolutely.
invite you to come here and then show you around everything. Yeah, I love that.
Okay. Awesome. Love that. Okay. So since we're talking about Afghanistan, talking about, Badakhshan, that's how you say it? How do you say that?
Yeah,
Yeah. So if you're talking about
yeah,
that, tell us a little bit more about your childhood and a little bit about your growing up years.
yeah, thank you so much for this question. So yeah, I was born and raised in Badakhshan province. So Badakhshan province is a northeast area of Afghanistan. It's mostly like the place that I was born. It is like very kind of isolated part
Hmm.
where we rarely had access to electricity. I don't know, like do we had access to internet? No, we didn't. But like even like TV was a luxury thing that some
Okay.
families had. So I was born there and raised there for like 11 years of my life. And I was raised by my grandparents,
Hmm.
like not my parents. So I was with my grandparents. It was a great experience. As I told you, that the life there was very different. We had a very natural life, I would say. I
Hmm.
love that area of my life and that phase of my life. And then I was also going to school there. Our school was a little bit strict.
Okay.
Our teachers were like just like any. I think our Afghani teachers and Indian teachers have in
Very
common. They're
similar.
kind of strict.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like studying there, and then unfortunately wars came, and then wars took place in Afghanistan. Then we had to leave that village to the city in Badakhshan, which was the name was Faizabad.
Hmm.
And then I with my family we spent 4 years in Faizabad, and then we changed the place. We went to
Yeah.
Kabul, and then we didn't spend that much of time in Kabul, like maybe around 3 years in Kabul, which unfortunately again war took place, and then we had to leave it. So we will maybe later on talk about it more. But basically, yeah, the place that I was born and raised was Badakhshan City, and I really cherish all the memories that I have made there, the people I have made
Hmm.
there. And I think, as I said, it is like that home feel. Like whenever I hear the name of Badakhshan, I feel like
Home.
home.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully peace will come. Maybe one day I will go there back.
Hopefully, hopefully. But tell us something, Mushta, that people might not know about Afghanistan that you would like to share.
Yeah. So when we talk about Afghanistan, like I think the immediate picture that come to the mind is some desert,
Yeah.
and then like you just there is war, and then people are killing each other. There's like blood and everything. And I don't want to deny the fact that yeah, we do have conflicts, we do have wars, and there are a lot of people suffering. But then a big part of who we are is our culture. A big part of who we are is the beauties that we had around us.
Hmm.
Afghanistan at the same time, it is a very green country. Like the place I came is so much
Hmm.
greenery. We have beautiful rivers, beautiful weather. The culture is very rich culture. We have different languages. For example, I speak Farsi or
Okay.
Persian, and then my friends in Badakhshan, some of them were speaking Shoghnani, which is a totally different
And
language.
Pashto
Some
is
people
also
speak
spoken, I
Turkish.
believe.
Yeah, Pashto. Even some people speak Urdu or Hindi, and some people speak Arabic. So we have like different cultures, different diversity. Even we have people from even other beliefs, like we have Sikh people in Afghanistan,
Hmm.
where they were, most of them were our neighbors. So like
Yeah.
different cultures in Afghanistan, and I think most of people don't know that.
Yeah.
People think Afghanistan is just one group of people, one background, and one picture. But
Yeah.
I would say that no, when you go deep, like when you read more about Afghanistan, when you explore it more in a different perspective, you will come across the fact that there is so much more about Afghanistan. And even there was one YouTuber, very famous YouTuber, his name is, I think, Andrew. He said that his favorite country is Afghanistan.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, he's a very famous like traveler.
Okay.
So he kind of like, stump on the things that I said. So
Yeah. No, I'm sure like these kind of insights are something which anybody who has lived there can share. We all see like an overview image, or sometimes whatever is fed to us by media sometimes. We just see that. We don't really know what is actually inside. So thank you for sharing that. I'm sure people are gonna enjoy this. Um so now, Mushta, like I have seen that, of course, we will get into deeper into more work that you do, but throughout, my previous conversation also, and the conversation that I've heard you in, some offline as well. We met in Toronto at an event, and now, like in even our previous conversation that we had, you have mentioned many times, your mother, like your family at times, where, and I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, would you say that your mother has been your source of inspiration or the source of encouragement? I wanted to talk a little bit more about that because I'm sure there is some sort of family support that led you to do the things that you do. So, talk a little bit more about that.
yeah. Oh, thank you so much for this beautiful question and point that you brought. I think for me in my life, that one person that whenever I think is my mom, she's been someone that, because like, growing up in Afghanistan and having three daughters in a row, and then, like people, there was a lot of stereotypes around having three daughters in a row and then not being able to give birth to a boy. So I have seen my mom how much she suffered from the fact that people around us were pointing out my mom that why you don't have a boy, why you
Hmm.
have all daughters, who will take care of your future like life, who will take care of the wealth of your like husband and all those things. So there were like a lot of this type of conversation that even as a kid I was listening to them. Like I would see there was a guest who would come, and then my mom would spend 3 hours cooking,
Yeah.
cleaning to make this food, and then that guest would come and sit in a conversation and then find out my mom that why you don't have a boy,
Hmm.
and then like talking about things that I was like, okay, who are you to talk about these things? These are none of your business.
Absolutely.
But then they would allow themselves, like everyone would allow themselves to put a finger on my mom. And then me seeing all those things and seeing that still my mom was strong and not giving up and not take thinking like not seeing as less valuable, that gives me courage. That
Hmm.
kind of built like, and I see that over like as life went by, and I saw times that when I would do something good at school and I would tell my mom, I did this at school, and then she would be so proud and so happy. She would post my marks in her Facebook. She
Oh
would
wow.
like post my drawing in her Facebook. And I saw that how these things were making her like happier. So that gave me a hope that okay, I will do the best to prove everyone who told my mom that you have a daughter so you are less valuable, prove them wrong, that having a daughter is not a shame. It should be something
100%.
that one day they will see at me and they say like, I wish she was my daughter. So that being said, like my mom, she has been the most courageous woman and bravest woman I know in my life and even others, being so strong, being supportive of us, pushing us in every step that go try this thing, go try that thing. As I told you, she would push me, go speak in front of like hundreds of people. And I was saying, like, Mom, I don't want to do it. And then she would say, you can do it, go do it.
Yeah.
So, all these things kind of inspired me, seeing my mom and all those things. But at the same time, as I mentioned, she is the source of my inspiration to anything that I do, because I want to make her proud. And towards making her proud, I want to make all other women feel that they are not less valuable just because they are women are. girls.
100%. Yes, there is a saying in Punjabi, we say that kismat wale hunde ne jide kar kudiyan hondiyan ne, which basically translates to they are lucky who are blessed with a baby girl in their houses. So I think this is also something very close to me because I have two sisters and they are like decade older than me, and this was the conversation during their growing up years as well, talking to my mother like why there's not son, and then finally I was born, and all those conversations that I've heard growing up here and there as well. But coming back to you again, I think that would be a great segue to something else that you have mentioned, that your courage is your weapon. And you mentioned to me that it's not just a statement to you, it's a living experience for you where your family and you were like sandwiched between Taliban and the government, and you needed that courage to live in such sort of environment and get up every day and go to school the next day, right? So talk a little bit more about that and educate us about the time, all that you were going through, including like your high school and going, and because the things were pretty strict for girls even to pursue education in that part of the country. So tell us about that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think when you are in an environment where fear and terror and war is a big part of that environment, the life becomes very challenging. Like
Hmm.
everything's become challenging. So even life for men become challenging,
Hmm.
let alone like women, how much they suffer. So I grew up in that environment where war was a big part of my life. In every conversation, there was a bigger like view of war than any other thing. So even like when we had dinner, when we had breakfast, like 80% of our talks were about war, were about politics, what
Hmm.
would happen tomorrow, what happened yesterday, what happened today, regarding to bomb blast, regarding to gun and everything. So fear was a big part of us. And then at the beginning, like when I was in Badakhshan, life was kind of peaceful because we didn't have bomb blasts in Badakhshan. But when we came to Kabul, things changed because right now life was not
Hmm.
guaranteed. You could not hide in a place, like you could not hide at home. You had to live your life, and but that unfortunately meant risking your
Yeah.
life. Because I remember that one day I was going to the school with my sisters. So this was our car, very close to the school, and then a traffic happened.
Hmm.
So we were stuck. We were in the road, and then 5 minutes later, a bomb blast took
Oh no.
place, which was like, I think, very close to
Okay.
us, like close to school. And then in that bomb blast, five students from our school died.
Oh no.
They were killed. And then if that traffic was not happened there, if that traffic did not lock the route, we would be in
Oh
that
my
position. We
god.
would be like, so, just imagine that that was our normal life. That was something that we had to deal every morning. And guess what happened? Tomorrow morning, we had to go back to that classroom.
Hmm.
We had to sit. And I remember I was in my classroom, and then the window that was like right close to me, it was all broken. And I could see outside because of the bomb blast,
Yeah.
the windows were. So that was a part of life. And then we had to deal with it. So kind of fear became a big part that, you couldn't be terrified. You couldn't be scared because otherwise you couldn't leave. So but then still it doesn't mean that make you strong in a way that also make you so very like to cherish every moment of life. Because whenever I used to go to the school, I would look at my mom, and the hardest part of the day in life was saying goodbye to mom and then going back to school, like because I didn't know would I come back, what would happen at home, what would happen here and there. So that was like so hard saying even goodbye. But then, as we talk about the courage should be like, courage was that power that would move us forward. Because like taking the courage to say goodbye, taking the courage to not cry, taking the courage that
Hmm.
after a bomb blast going back to the school, taking the courage after the death of maybe a classmate, you had to be in that classroom and try to forget what happened. All of those things like wanted courage,
Hmm.
not just from me, but from every single person. So even if you're like just the weakest person in the room, you had to be courageous, because if you weren't courageous, it means courage would let you down. So I
Hmm.
think courage with the hope was two things that kind of, keep push us forward to live our life. So as I told you, it was like a very different experience, that the fact that everything would happen, but then tomorrow you had to start refresh. It was just like a game with like ultimate life, coming back
Yeah.
and coming back. Yeah.
Oh my God, this is making me quite speechless because I can't even imagine what would be going in the minds of a teenager who is having a fear of even going to school, not because he or she is afraid of the education or the marks or the teachers. They are in the fear of their life. I mean, I
Exactly.
I mean, the people of that age, or I would say like students of that age, are usually worried about their studies. They are stressed about the exams, maybe they are stressed about the acne that they had, the pimples that they're having on their faces, or maybe their crush didn't reply them back, or something like that. And you were simply stressed about just your life, like whether you don't even know whether you'll be coming back to your parents or not. um I mean, there's nothing else that I can say that can justify in any way, obviously. But tell me, didn't you at any moment feel like, Mushtar, not going to school and just staying with your parents the whole time and just not pursue the education?
Yeah, so in my family, like I am the most emotional one. Like I used to like be very attached to my mother. Like I love my mom, as I said before. So there would be like sometimes that when I was sitting in the classroom and I would miss my mom so much that I was like all thinking about my mom, and then the teacher was like just teaching. Because there was a time that my mom started university again. She wanted to, to pursue pharmacy, and she wanted to become a doctor.
Mhm,
And then knowing that my mom is going outside too was like just making me terrified. Like
mhm,
whenever a bomb blast would take place, now it wasn't just me. I was like asking, oh my gosh, what happened there? So like it was a very scary moment. So during that time, I hated school. To be honest, as I said, I love my studies. I love the fact that I was able to have opportunity to learn. But then dealing with all other emotions apart from studying, I just didn't love school. I just wanted to stay with my mom and then be there, because as I said, I was very emotionally attached to my mom. That kind of like whenever like going to school was a struggle for over like 11 years.
of course, I'm sure about that. So Mushta, I remember you also shared this another anecdote with me where in a class where you guys, there were like 50 boys and just 4 girls in a classroom, and you told me that your mom said that you have to be, Mushtaq, the ambassador of those girls, and you have to stand up and show that you have a voice. Tell us, when you did that, what happened?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think, in Afghanistan, there was one very competitive course. It was an English classroom. So, in that English classroom, there were students from different backgrounds. We had like teenagers, we had master degree holders, we had like teachers from university, like different people from different parts of academia,
Academy. Yeah.
basically. Yeah, when I went there, so my mom enrolled us that in that course because she heard, okay, that's a very good course, and my sister and I, we were very like we were the youngest among all other students. So because we were, I think, grade 8 or 9, yeah, around that. So when we entered to the classroom, I just saw that there are 50 boys and there's 4 girls. It was me and my sister, and then 2 other girls, and then all the classroom are boys. And then so I used to go to the girls' school. Like I mean, I never been exposed to a place where there was so much man and there were so much boys. So it was like kind of very terrifying at the beginning. Even I was scared to like read a word or solve a question, or when my teacher would ask something, I was terrified to raise my hand. But then gradually we had conversation about the school about the course with my mom, and my mom said, you know what, like you shouldn't be afraid. We always had this conversation about how can we as a girl prove that we are capable of certain things. So my mom said, you know what, that place is a place that you have to prove. because in your class you don't have any boy to prove, but in that classroom you
Yeah.
have to prove. So then I used to, like, work so hard and then practice everything in advance, and then when I'm in the classroom and the teacher asked anything, I would raise my hand. But then during the week on Thursdays or maybe Fridays,
Mm-hmm.
on Thursdays, because Fridays we had holidays in Afghanistan. So on Thursdays we had to come up with a topic, and
Mm-hmm.
then we have to present it in front of all the class
Okay.
every Thursday. And then during that day, you had the chance to either sit in your chair and just read it, or you had the chance to stand up in front of the class and then present it.
Okay.
So, in case of our class, the majority of the ones who used to stand up were boys. There were no girl who would stand up and then present their topic in front of all boys.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one day I spent 1 week preparing for this one topic, that this time I will stand up,
Okay.
and I was terrified the whole week. So then it was a time, and then the teacher said, "Okay, it's your time, Mujda." And I just didn't sit and stand up. And then the teacher said, "Oh, good, you stand up." And then all the class were shocked. So then I stand up and I read my topic, and I didn't read my topic. I memorized my topic. So I just put
Hmm.
the paper, and then it was just me and then talking, and the whole class was so silent, and then my voice was so loud. I have naturally like this loud voice, so then my voice was so loud, and even there were boys coming from other classrooms and seeing what is happening, because it was the first time like one girl is, my hands are like this and I memorized everything. And then my teacher said, "Wow." And then he said to the class, my classmates, that learn from her, and that kind of inspired me to do the next
Hmm.
time. And then my sister was doing the same, then the other girls were inspired, and then after 2 weeks there were no boys standing up. All the topics were just girls, and it was a very funny thing. And even my teacher used to tell our story to other classes, that this thing happened in our class, that everything shift
Hmm.
from boys standing up to girls standing up. So in that experience I really learned valuable lessons. For example, my confidence rise, the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I am valuable if I work hard. If I put the work, I can beat boys. I can be the best in the class. I can have the courage to stand up. I can have the courage to memorize the stuff. And it is not my age limiting me. It's not my gender that will limit me. It's not the fact that who I am will limit me. If
Yeah.
I put the work, I can do whatever I want to do. So that taught me this lesson. And then after that, like in every class that I had, I was like just standing up. I feel like,
Hmm.
I am not, I learned a lesson.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a very valuable experience for me.
Well, I think you said it all, but definitely you paved the way for the other girls and definitely created history in that setting. Your professor said it for the first time you were there. So loved it, loved it. Awesome. But that's not where you stopped. You continue to do amazing things and still doing it today. We'll definitely dive deeper into that. But I just want to take you back to the moment of August 15, 2021, when literally Taliban took over Afghanistan in that time, and you have witnessed it firsthand. Tell us, where were you and what the future seemed to you in that particular moment?
It was a very summer day of Kabul, a very hot day. So we used to live in one room together with my sisters. But then, like, because of, being with three sisters means a lot of talking, a lot of conversation. So I changed my room to a little balcony that I used to collect everything and decorate with my books and everything. So I was
Hmm.
sitting in that balcony. And then right in front of me there was like sticky notes. I put in there and I drew some stuff. I exactly remember in one of my sticky notes I have written, never give up.
Hmm.
In another one was believe in yourself. In another one I wrote the word hope and then colored it,
Hmm.
because I just love those two sticky notes, and they were like right in front of me. And just like those sticky notes, I wasn't giving up. The fact that during that last week, everything was so hard, because
Hmm.
province after province were falling and Taliban would take control
Yeah.
of those provinces. So Kabul was the only province that Taliban didn't have control over it. And even during that time, I was so hopeful, because, I said to myself, we have been in war for 40 years. How is it possible that Taliban took Afghanistan once again?
Hmm.
Like, I wasn't allowing myself to believe that Taliban would take Kabul, and this is at the end of the story. Like I refused to believe in that. So I was very hopeful.
Mhm.
And suddenly someone started knocking the door, and it wasn't
Mhm.
a normal knock.
Oh wow.
Knew that okay, no one would knock our door like that. So I rushed up to the door because my balcony was very close to the entry door. I opened and I found my uncle. He's very like breathless and telling me, "Where's your mom? Where's your mom?" I said, "Oh, what happened?" And he said, "Taliban are here.
Oh no.
Taliban took Kabul, and then we have to leave." Because during that time, my dad he was in India because of some medical conditions that he had. So it was just us, my mom, three daughters, and then like we were just in one room in one house, and then all by ourselves. And then my family had some political background. They were part of the government, working with government. My grandma, she was an activist, so we were in the risk even before the Taliban.
Mhm.
So my uncle came, and then we said we have to leave. And soon we packed our whole life in school
Oh
backpacks.
no.
One cloth, two document, and some maybe money and food to, to just go somewhere. And then everything was there. And then we locked the door and we went to my uncle's house, and we spent 1 week there, like so no one would know where we were. And that day, I think, is a day that I never would forget. And the fact that all the hopes that I had was just destroyed. And as I told you, like I was refusing the fact that I will believe the Taliban would come and take Afghanistan once again.
Hmm.
Because there was one story that was repeating. My mom was struggling, my grandma was struggling with war, my grandmother and generations where everyone was struggling. And I was thinking that no, our generation would have a different life.
Yeah.
We would have a different future. But so that being said, I was thinking of all these different things. But so I remember that during that exact day, August 15, 2021, so we were in the car, and then again a traffic happened, and all families, the whole roads, all roads were full of people. Everyone was trying to get into the airport so they can leave Afghanistan because everyone was terrified.
Hmm.
And the other thing was that the president of the country, Ashraf Ghani, he escaped the country.
Oh
So
wow.
like suddenly he
He
left
just
the country.
disappeared. Okay.
Yeah, all the politicians. So we thought, okay, right now there is no government. Maybe Taliban will start killing everyone.
Mhm.
So everyone was trying to just leave the country, especially the ones who had some political backgrounds or who were activists or who were journalists, like these type of people. So we were in the road, and then there's like traffic because there are so many people going to the airport, and we were actually trying to get into airport first. Then suddenly gunshots start happening, and in that exact moment I got this trauma. I was shocked and I couldn't believe, like I thought, okay, now they will come and kill us. But then so they didn't. Then nothing happened. But in that, like, it took us 4 hours to go to my uncle's house. And that exact moment that the gunshots start happening, for one exactly year I had that trauma, that
Oh
every
man.
night suddenly I would wake up and then I thought, okay, someone is like, there is a gunshots. So that really impacted my mental health. But as I said, that day was the start of very so much hardship for women, especially in Afghanistan, for everyone, but specifically women. Ever since that day, it's been 2 years. And then on September of that month, Taliban banned women from going to school, secondary school. Soon after that, they banned women from going to public speaking spaces like parks. They banned women from like any type of sport activities. They banned the gyms for women, the bathhouses for women, the air salons, all salons, all type of salons. Then soon after that, on December of 2022, they banned all universities to women. It means right now, Afghan women, they don't have access to school, they don't have access to university, they cannot continue their education, which means we will not have future women doctors. We will not have future Afghan women who are engineers. Like all the dreams are just, gone. And it is so hard to just think of how hard it would be for women in Afghanistan living there. Because, I previously mentioned to one of the friends, I said, just imagine how hard is it for a little girl growing up in Afghanistan and knowing that the future she was waiting will never come true,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the future is all bleak because right now the only options for girls is, okay, getting married, and that is not something most of girls are wanting. So, like for example, my classmates, we used to be the generation that despite all war, despite all the blood on the roads, we used to go school, we used to work so hard. And now imagine how hard is it that all those options are banned, and now you're just sitting and waiting. So I think it's, ever since that day, everything is like getting worse and worse. And as you said, like there's no word to justify it, how and what will happen.
Yeah.
So I hope that something will happen. I hope that peace come, or at least girls have the opportunity to learn and to go to school, because that gives them a hope.
Yeah. Well, I think once again, Mujda, you have left me speechless. Again, I can't even feel or even say anything that I could anyway, even believe that this all was happening. This is completely unbelievable, living in such kind of environment, and you being just a tiny tot. You were a teenager. You were just trying to pursue education and live your life, but you were just not allowed to do that, or you could not do that in such kind of harsh environments. And so tell us what happened next then. How did you guys decide to go to Pakistan, and or how did that happen? Tell us.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, like my parents, they had like this very governmental background. That my dad was a police officer, like my grandma, she was an activist. So even
Hmm.
like before the Taliban coming, taking the control of Afghanistan, we used to receive a lot of like threats, death threats, that they would like kidnap us. They were like, so there were like so much things even before the Taliban coming to Afghanistan. So when the Taliban took, the immediate reaction of my parents were, okay, how should we leave the country, when should we leave? We were even hiding for 1 week, as I mentioned.
Hmm.
So then we waited for the situation to get better in the airport, but it didn't, so we decided to go by the border. So we went to we had the visas, we had our passports, so we went to Pakistan through the borders. And I think, the fact that we had to leave everything, and then we didn't took anything from our houses,
Of
like we
course,
didn't
yeah.
took a bag. Even the Taliban took my father's car.
Hmm.
The Taliban took the control of like my grandma's house for 1 month, I think, not for 1 month, for 3 months, that they didn't allow any family member to go there, because they said, okay, this is a house from government, because you're working with government, it means this house is ours now. So
Hmm.
then eventually my parents tried to get the house, but they didn't give us back the cars or with them. So then we went to Pakistan, and I think the journey being as a refugee, the word refugee is hard, because
Absolutely.
now you have to hold a new life. This is a new chapter of your life. As a refugee, you are not able to go to school. As refugee, it means that you have to deal with a new language, you have to deal with a new environment, with new people, and a lot of other challenges. So I think the shift from Afghanistan to Pakistan was challenging too, to cross the border and then to leaving everything behind, your family, your loved ones, your home, your country. It was all hard, but yeah, I think going, but then the chapter that we started in Pakistan was also so different, because we spent 1 year in
Yeah.
Pakistan. It was a whole life. And then during this time, I kind of learned a little bit of Urdu, kind of that, so that much that I could solve my problems. Then we used to, like, we couldn't go to school, but what we used to do was just, helping ourselves to learn some stuff by ourselves through internet, or maybe to go parks, and then trying to make ourselves busy.
Yeah. How old were you then?
During that time I was 16,
Hmm.
but then when I went to Pakistan I turned 17.
Okay. And did you have any family there or anybody there? Whom did you go and live with?
No, in Pakistan, we didn't know anyone. I remember when we went, we used to spend, like, we got the house, like, there was actually one Afghan whom my dad had a connection with. So we went there, and then we just got the house on that day, on
Okay.
that exactly day. So the house was all empty. Like, just there was like two couches, and then like we used to be there. And then it was a daytime, so my parents went to buy some stuff to just like we could sleep well during the night. And then I think then just gradually we start buying stuff and making a home Pakistan,
Yeah.
because our case was a bit different. Some of the refugees who went to from Afghanistan to Pakistan, they were supported by Canadian
Hmm.
government or by different governments. So it means that they had access to houses, they had access to a lot of supports, but we didn't had that. So we had to support ourselves. So
Hmm.
like literally my parents, they use all their savings to make a life in 1 year.
Hmm. Wow, like completely uprooting yourself. I should not say uprooting yourself. You were forced to uproot yourself, and just you were just like kicked
Exactly.
out of the country and finding refuge in a new place altogether with no connections. This is incredible. I don't know how you guys would have managed that. Um, But you did not lose hope even in that, Mushta. In that 1 year, you didn't have the access to education or anything, but you decided to learn to code. You taught yourself coding, and that's how you started, or I would say the initial seed of Code Green Afghanistan was planted. So tell us all about that.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. As you said, I think that driving force even I had back in Afghanistan. I've always like wanted to do something, especially in case of children and in case of girls in Afghanistan. So what happened was when we went to Pakistan, as I said, that we couldn't go to the school. Maybe like the first 5 months was so hard for us to just adjust the fact, okay, we are in a new country, we cannot do this and that, now we have to deal with X amount of stuff. But
Yeah.
then that kind of also had a little bit of depression in it, a little bit of anxiety, the fact that you gradually lose hope. But I
Yeah.
wasn't okay with losing hope because I love the word hope and I wanted to keep myself hopeful for a better future. So what happened was like I've always was curious about coding, like even in Afghanistan, but I never tried it. So I said, okay, let's give it a try. Why not? And then I remember I started like coding. It was very fun. I would make one web page and I would show it to all my family members. Hey, come,
Mhm.
mom, see what I made. You can do it this, you can do it
Yeah.
that. And then when I would show that to my uncles who were in different countries, I would send the link to them. That was like kind of like giving me that hope that okay, I'm doing something. Then I started like learning more and more and more. I was watching a lot of courses online, a lot of videos on YouTube. And then soon I remember there was one day I said, okay, this thing is giving me a lot of hope. This thing is giving me a lot of joy. Why not share it maybe with one or two of my classmates who are right now in Afghanistan?
Hmm.
So I said, let's make a brochure to it and then share it in my Instagram and let's see if anyone is interested in learning coding with me. And to my surprise, 30 girls, including 10 refugees in Pakistan, they
Oh,
joined.
wow.
And then for the next 2 months, I was like waking up early to practice, to make everything ready, and then to study together. And then I would record the videos to send it back to girls who couldn't join on that day. So for 2 months, we did HTML, we did CSS, we did
Hmm.
some little bit of JavaScript and some other concepts in
Hmm.
technology. We talked about like the future of technology. We had some conversation. We used to talk about Photoshop and all those things. And then after that, we came to Canada. And then when I came to Canada, I tried to again keep on going, and my skills got a little bit of better. And then there was one challenge called YCM Challenge, so Youth Change Maker Challenge. So I joined that. There were like uh, over 300 participants from all over the world, which then we had to compete together and then come up with a solution. So my solution was codegreenafghanistan.org.
Hmm.
I started creating a platform. I spent 2 months working so hard to make a website, a professional website,
Wow.
and my team. Yeah, there we formed a team, and then out of like all those competitors, we won the education challenge. We got the first position, and then from that day till now, I am working on Code Green Afghanistan. We have had many collaborations with teachers in Afghanistan. Our math class is currently having around, we have registered 200 students,
Hmm.
but students come and go because of the internet and everything. But we have like registered around 200 students. We are planning to add more courses. apart from our educational aspect of Code Green Afghanistan, we have one part called the blog section, which we give opportunity to girls to share their stories. We have one part like we have many WhatsApp groups. One is we share scholarship opportunities, we share different opportunities that we come across on online, and then we share it with girls. Just check out this one, check out that one. So these are the things that we're right now doing, but we hopefully want to keep the work up. We want to add more courses and do more, hopefully in future.
That is phenomenal. I don't know how you're doing all that along with your education, but tell us more like how did you find these people, these teachers, or how did you spread a word about this within Afghanistan? And how did you caught more and more? How did you just spread a word about it so that more and more people or more and more girls can come and join your courses? How did that happen?
Yeah, exactly. So even in Afghanistan, I was kind of an influencer, not a big one, like not a big one at all. But I had this like social media account.
Okay.
I have like about around 2,000 followers. So like I used to post everything. I used to write a lot and then all those things. So I already had this one like community, like around 1,000 girls maybe. So when I shared that, most of those girls were interested in. So they said, okay, like we know you, Mujda, you've been doing all
Hmm.
these things, so we want to join the course. But then through that social media, I had other connections. For example, there were some famous people who used to follow me or from Afghanistan. So when I shared this opportunity, they shared it on their stories. So it kind of brought more girls together. And then through that, I kind of knew some courses. We connected with courses online and they said, okay, yeah, we would love to
Hmm.
collaborate with you. It kind of happened with networking and connections that I have already had.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So, if any of our listeners would like to, join your mission, where they can connect with you.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Find us in LinkedIn. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook. We have our email address and all those things. So you can check out.
And if anybody just want to reach out to you, they can reach out to you on LinkedIn, I suppose.
Yeah, yes. Also in LinkedIn, my name in LinkedIn is Muzhda Akbari. I will share the link with you so you can share it with the audience.
Yeah.
And also on my Instagram, it's also Muzhda Akbari, the same name. Yeah, you can find me there.
Perfect. Awesome. I'll put the links to that in the show notes. So, Mushta, let's just talk a little bit about your move to Canada. Tell us a little bit about the behind the scenes that how did that came about, and tell us about your first day when you landed.
Yeah, thank you. So about the Canada, I think Canada has always been a dream of my mom,
Okay.
especially my mom always loved Canada. She used to, even in Afghanistan, she said, I wished I was born in Canada.
Oh,
It was like
wow.
quite funny that when we came to Pakistan, so we tried to like apply for refugee programs. So we applied for this refugee program for US actually.
Mhm,
But then they emailed us that they said there are a lot of applications for US. Do you want to like ask to refer you to Canada?
mhm.
Like we will refer your application to Canada. And my mom was so happy. She said, "What? Of course I want." I don't know why
Wow.
my mom loves Canada this much, but yeah, she said yeah. So we kind of applied for that refugee program, and then after spending 1 year in Pakistan, we came here to Canada. The first day we landed on Winnipeg. In
Okay.
Winnipeg, we spent one night in Winnipeg. It was a very cold day. It was around December. Yeah, it was around December, very cold. And then after that, we went to Thunder Bay. We spent 3 months in Thunder Bay. Thunder Bay was again super cold. Like our first experience
I'm
from
sure.
Canada was cold. It was snow. For me, I was like a big fan of snow because in Pakistan we didn't have snow for 1 year.
Yeah.
So coming and then seeing all the snow was so we were so happy. And I remember, so we were in the hotel, and that day there was a very heavy snow. I told my sisters and some other girls, let's go play snowballing together. And then we said, okay, yeah, why not? Because all of us came from Pakistan and
Mhm.
Pakistan was so hot.
Yeah.
So we went and we were playing together, and then it was so cold that our lashes was like frozen, our hands.
Yeah.
But we were playing, we didn't care. And then I remember all the cars would cross, and they were like, what are you doing in this cold? And then we went back to the hotel, and then our case workers came and they said, you were playing in minus 30
Oh my
degree
god.
outside. Like we didn't know it was minus 30 degree. We didn't know, but then she said, okay, it's very cold, do not go outside. So after that we were not allowed to go outside because of the cold. So our first experience was coldness, but then like gradually like kind of dealing with the new environment, learning how to cross the road,
Hmm.
because crossing road in here was so different in crossing road in Pakistan and
Hmm.
Afghanistan because of the lights. And then dealing with cards, credit card, it was our first
Hmm.
experience of like using credit cards. For example, we
Yeah.
have never used credit card in Afghanistan. We Everything was by cash. Even in Pakistan it was by cash.
Hmm.
So we had to learn how to manage credit cards, and then learning how to like order stuff, like so many new things,
Yeah.
like everything was new for us. And the funny part was like my sisters and I, we were in charge of controlling
Hmm.
everything because my parents, they don't know English. So like we had to take care of the credit cards, we have to take care of the documents, we have to, like, we
Oh
literally
yeah.
became accountant,
Mm.
lawyer, everything that you just imagine. Like, because even like we were teenagers, but we had to learn all these things because my parents, they didn't know all those things. So that was like the beginning. But then yeah, later on, I think then we moved to here Mississauga right now from Thunder Bay. And then we right now we are in a school, and again everything, there were a lot of culture shocks, there was a lot of things that we had to like adapt. But overall it has been so far a very good
Hmm.
experience.
Wow. So you are working on this mission, to empower Afghan girls. You are mere 18 who is studying as well. And then you're also sort of playing all these other roles and a helping hand to your parents. So that's a lot of things
Yeah.
that you are doing in a day. But tell me, Mursa, do you find it like it's like additional responsibility, or I would like you define it. Like, how would you define this, like you really assisting your parents for everything, be it like groceries,
Mhm.
be it like, these all these other services that they have to access to, and they have to do it through you. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like additional pressure, or how is it for you? Tell us.
Oh my gosh, it is so much pressure, like so much, because like one part is like of course like in our culture and maybe in India too,
Yeah,
like
I
we
can
really
relate.
value.
I'll do the
Yeah.
same for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. Like we really value. It's not the question of like should I do it or no. Like we just want to do it and then we have to do it. But then in one point you find yourself in a position, okay, I cannot deal with all these things, but I also cannot do it. Like I just can't say, okay, I don't want to do it, because if I don't do it, who do it? Who will do it? So you kind of have to do all these things and managing your time, managing the energy. But then the other hard part is like, okay, you are dealing with very important documents
Yeah.
with very important work. Like, what if I mess up something? What if something goes wrong? And then there were like so much pressure, I think, in the very first stages that we came to Canada, because as
Yeah.
you know, like you have to get your new documents, you have to translate everything, you have to
Yeah.
go to the school, enroll yourself, take appointments, get doctor, family doctor, and all those things. So it was very hard, and I think there was a lot of pressure, and then there were times that I just wanted to say, I don't want to do it, but then we had to do it. And I'm happy that I have my sisters with me. So one of my sisters, she is one, we have 1 year age gap, so we kind of try to share the work together. But I think it is challenging for each one of us. But then another part of it is that, okay, I'm happy that I am able to help my parents
Yeah.
even in this situation. And I think it's gonna teach us a lot of lessons in future
100%.
that
Yeah.
yeah, later on, like I think there was a very funny thing in our school. My teacher started asking my classmates like, have anyone ever got an appointment? I said, is it a question? Like
Well, look at me. I've been setting up appointments here and there.
I was like, oh my gosh, is it a question? So even that, like, you kind of learn a lot of things maybe that kind of
Yeah.
push you ahead, but
Yeah.
still, it is
No, I
challenging.
think it's incredible at the same time that it's preparing you for your
Yeah.
future. So that's good. But I'm sure there would be times, Mujta, you would have messed some things up. Do you have any examples of that? Share with us that.
Oh my gosh, there was a lot of time. Like I remember that there was a very important document, and then we had to fill that out. And then in the name of my mom, I instead of the writing the first name, I wrote the first name and the last name together, like
Okay.
Muzhda Akbari, like
Hmm.
together. And then in the last name, I wrote Akbari again, like the
Okay.
last name again twice. And then these documents were printed. All
Hmm.
the names are correct, but my mom's name has two last names. And now that two last name is in every document that we have. Like in all the documents, my mom's name is wrong.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, my dad is, what happened? Why you did that? My mom, why this happened? And I'm like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And
Cut
then
me some
trying to
slack. I'm
change
helping you
all
in a different language.
that was so hard. And then we had to go to our caseworkers and change that from all over again. And then it means there was a change in all the documents. So that, and then sometimes missing the appointments. Like you have an appointment, but you are in school and you miss that. Oh, I had an appointment. Who my mother had an appointment, my dad. So yeah, there's a lot of this kind of experiences.
Oh wow. Oh, amazing, amazing. Love these stories. So before we get to the final segment, Mushta, is there something that I have missed and you would like to share with our listeners? There's something, some topic that you would like to cover?
Mhm. I think there was one experience that I wanted to share with maybe with your audience.
Sure.
So when we were in Tender Bay, the one day our caseworker, she came. Her name was Michelle. She came and she said, "You know, there is a business hackathon, a
Hmm.
business program in the University of Lakehead, in the Lakehead University." So I was like, okay, what type of competition is it? And then she said, okay, there's a business competition. You have to come up with a business idea. You have to compete with university
Hmm.
students. The university teachers will be the judge, and the list goes. And I was like, what? University students in a university and as like teenage girls,
Yeah.
Afghan teenage girls going there. And then she said, just go and try it. And I was like, no, I'm not trying it. So in 1 week, I was navigating the fact, should we go or shouldn't?
Hmm.
So I told my sisters, just let's give it a try. Why not?
Hmm.
Like, just give it a try. Maybe we will meet new people. We will improve our communication,
Yeah.
our language, all those things. So we went there inside the Lakehead University, and I see all these university students, university teachers, and me and my sisters, we are like
Hmm.
the teenagers and Afghan
Yeah.
girls. So we went and they said, okay, why are you here? And I said, we are here for the competition. So the competition was we had to come up with a business idea, and then the prize was $4,000.
Okay.
So $4,000 is a lot of money in Afghanistan. You can literally
Yeah.
buy a house with it. So with my sisters, and then we came, and then the first round was, okay, we have to make a pitch, 1 minute pitch, and then we have to present it in front of everyone. And then I was in charge of giving the pitch, and I told my sisters, you know what, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it.
Okay.
And then they said, no, you have to do it. So like dealing with that emotion, so I just did that 1 minute pitch. And then the reaction was so good, and then we went to the second phase of the competition. And then we had to make this business idea, we made the business idea, and then the final day came, which there's professors, university professors, some of them from the business school, all of them came. And now we had to create a 5 minute
Hmm.
pitch and then present it in front of everyone.
Yeah.
There were a lot of guests, judges, teachers, everyone. Very professional program. It was my first time being in such a program. I was in charge of the pitch because yeah, I had to do like the pitch. I had the role of CU in that competition in our team. Oh my gosh. So I am here and I'm presenting the idea. And then, so the competition ended on that day. It was a 2 day competition from 8 in the morning all the way to 8 on the night. So it was a very long time. And then the winner, it was the time for the announcing the winner. And guess what happened? Out of all the teams, out of all the university students, we were chosen as the first place. Not just the first place, but we also got the People's Choice Award.
Oh wow.
It was like an experience that the whole like group of refugees who were in the hotel, everyone was like surprised what happened, how you guys won, because like we
Yeah.
really worked hard and then we tried to make it the most out of that program. But that experience taught me a lot of lessons, is that I think most of your audience also comes from international students, and I am also like a refugee and we are immigrants. What I want to say is that, when you come across this type of opportunities, don't think that you are not capable of doing it. Just give it a try. Just because you're a refugee, just because you're an immigrant, just because you're an international student, just because you have language problems, just because you don't have the age requirements or anything, don't stop yourself.
Yeah.
Like, just go and do it. And you don't know what happens. And then on that experience, we won $4,000. So it was like a very big thing for us. The fact that we just came to Canada and then all this thing happened. That taught me a lot of lessons, and then that also gave me that courage that, even if I'm in a new country, if I put the work hard, if I believe in myself, I can do anything. And I just wanted to give that message to your audience too, that don't stop yourself. When you just try something, believe in yourself, even if you're terrified, even if you're scared. Be
Yeah.
scared, be terrified. Just do it, just do it.
Yeah. No, loved it. Very, very powerful message. Very powerful words, Mushta. And I'm so glad you shared this story with everybody, because it's exactly what our vision is, through podcasts, that just because you're an immigrant,
Yeah,
just because you are of a certain gender, in our conversation in this case, and just because you're of a certain age or you have a certain experience, it does not define you or it does
yeah,
not limits you to try something new. Go for
exactly.
it. Go for it. If it works for you, great. If it takes you somewhere else, great. If it does not, it was a learning experience, and just learn from it and apply that experience in somewhere else. So it's absolutely okay to go ahead and do the things, and don't limit yourself just because you're an immigrant here. So thank you, Mujta, for sharing that. Yeah. So, Mujta, before we get into the final segment, I have introduced this new segment in the second season of the podcast, and I call it Know Your Host, where I give my guests an opportunity to ask me any questions you might have.
Yeah, I would like to ask you a question. So, what was your favorite, like, what was your first day in Canada? Like, what was your experience in Canada? Like, when you first came here?
Wow, I was waiting for somebody to ask me this question, because I have asked this question to all my guests, and I do have an answer to that. I have a really long answer, but I'll try to shorten it up and I'll share that with you. The short answer is it was terrifying. It was hard. Okay. So, okay, I'll tell you briefly. So when I landed, a taxi was supposed to come and pick me up at 8 p.m., 8:30 p.m. And I was supposed to go to like a distant random person I found on Facebook Messenger, who was very sweet, and who said, "Sure, you can come and stay with us for the initial days, and by the time you find your house." I was like, "Sure." So I packed my bags. I landed here at 8:30 p.m. And when I checked, like, my taxi is not coming, which was supposed to come, which was a taxi given to us by school or something was there, which I don't exactly remember now. And that taxi was supposed to come and pick me up. That didn't show up. And I was like, man, how am I supposed to go anywhere? And even my internet is not connecting for some reason. Even if I want to order an Uber, it has to be like through credit card and everything. So how am I supposed to do all that? You have like so many other things going on in your mind when you just land. So I called that person whom I was supposed to go to the house to. I called him on Messenger, and somehow my internet connected, and I called him, and he said, "Oh, I don't live that far, so I'll come and pick you up." So he was so sweet that his name was Peerinder. I mean, shout out to you, amazing person, amazing human being. I'm still in touch with her. It's been 6 years, and he came and he picked me up along with his friend, and then he took me to his house. And I remember their house was on the fourth floor of the building. So you can imagine a lot of stairs, and I had uh, three big 23 kgs bags. They were not 23
Oh,
kgs, Mushta, I can assure you. I was trying to pack my life in those three suitcases. They were not 23 kgs. They were at least like 25 each, or maybe more than that. And one of them was even close to 30. I remember I paid extra for that. When I landed here, the actual guy whom I connected with, he went to his work, and his friend was there to welcome me to the house. His friend helped me to carry those three big bags to fourth floor, and he was so nice, and he helped
Oh,
me do all those, and that was tiring. And when I remember
wow.
moving my bags upstairs, and I was like, okay, this is Canada. Welcome to Canada. This is where your struggle starts, Gracies. And yes, that was my first night, so to say. And what happened the next day, I think I'll keep it for another episode for sure. But yes, that was my first night. And I remember when I reached the place, when I moved everything upstairs, and that guy was very nice. He ordered a pizza for me. And so that was also the first time I got to know that you can order a pizza which can be half vegetarian and half non-vegetarian. I didn't know that you could do that. And because he didn't eat non-veg, non-vegetarian, and he ordered a pizza which was like half veg, half non-vegetarian. I was like, oh, you can do that. I didn't know about that. So he ordered a pizza that for me, and along with that he served me juice, and his name was Harpreet, I remember. So yeah, amazing people I came across on my very first night, and I can't be more grateful for that. And yes, so that was my first day, first night in Montreal, Canada. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So you went to first to Montreal and then came
So
here.
I'm still in Montreal. Landed here in Montreal, and when I met you in Toronto, I was just visiting Toronto for like 10 days or so. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Montreal is such a beautiful city.
Oh
I
yeah.
just went there once, but it's so beautiful.
Indeed, it is. It is very beautiful. Lots of things to do. Very exciting place for sure. Yeah. Okay. But thank you for that question. Loved it. So now we're in the final segment of the podcast. I call it Beneath the Accent because we are knowing each other beneath the accent. I'm going to ask a couple of questions. You can answer them in one word or a sentence or however you feel like. The idea is just to know more about Mushta. So, ready?
Yeah, of course.
So, what advice would you give to Mushta, who is in the initial months of landing in Canada?
Don't go outside that much because I got sick because of the snow. Yeah.
Okay. Describe a moment when you experienced like a significant cultural shock.
In our school, I was in first day of school, my sister and I was so prepared and serious. Like I took my notebook,
Hmm.
my pen, and I was staring my teacher, and then the teacher said, okay, do your work. And then one of my classmates is playing video game, the other one is watching movie,
Okay.
and the other one is, oh my gosh, talking very badly. Like I was like, oh my gosh, what? The teacher is here. Why you're talking like that? But then I realized that it's just normal. Then even one student was
Oh
sleeping, and
wow.
then I said, oh, this is the class.
Wow, what kind of classroom was that?
The
That's
classroom.
crazy.
Yeah, it was physics class. So.
Okay. Okay. What's that one dish from your home country that always brings you comfort and nostalgia?
It is mantu. Oh, I love mantu. I even love the name of it. It's like mantu. When you break it down, it's mean me and you.
Oh,
But
okay.
then it is a dish. So it is like, oh my gosh, such a delicious dish. We cook it like not often, but like sometimes we cook it, and I love it.
What is it? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it is kind of like it has meat, onion, some spices, and it has the shape of dumpling,
Hmm.
like the Chinese
Okay.
dumpling, but it's like quite different. It's like not similar. It's quite different. When we cook it like all together, and especially when my mom cook it, it is the most delicious one. I just love it.
Awesome. Sounds great. Is it that available in Canada? Do you think I can buy and try?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Like whenever you saw a Afghani
Yeah.
restaurant, like just ask them like mantu or mantu, yeah, mantu. They will probably have it for sure.
Okay. Perfect. Are there any funny story related to misunderstanding around the accent or English that you have?
Around English, I think, yeah. So most of the time, like I mix up the words. Like I mix up a lot of like the words when it comes to the school.
Hmm.
Like when I talk, I keep like different words. And then there was like very funny experience with
Hmm.
me is that my best friend, so she is Afghan, so we always talk Persian together. Like we always talk like Farsi.
Hmm.
Then sometimes I'm in a classroom and then my Canadian classmate or my Indian or Pakistani classmates are with me and I just talking with them and then they say like, what? What are you doing? And then I realize that I'm speaking Farsi with them. And they say like, what are you speaking? Sometimes even with the teacher, like I'm talking with the teacher and then teacher is like, Muzhda, are you okay? And then I realized that I just spoke Farsi with the
Okay,
teacher.
okay.
So because like I'm so much exposed with my best friends, so we talk in Farsi a lot. I mess up like the whole
Mhm.
language.
Okay,
Yeah, so
okay.
it's a lot of forgetting words in this like moment.
No, I can relate to that. I remember initially in my initial year, my translator would just completely stop. My brain would stop.
Yeah,
I wanted to say something, and I would end up speaking in Punjabi, and they were like, What do you mean by that?" And I'm like, "Okay, give me a moment. I'll get back to you." I don't know exactly.
same here.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's your favorite cultural festival or celebration in Canada?
In Canada. Oh, in Canada, I think I never been to any like big culture program till now.
Mhm,
But there are some like in Mississauga, we have Celebration
mhm,
Center. Sometimes there's like a lot of like culture programs. They have like food. There was one time I went, there was like an international food festival where different countries was bringing their own food. And I'm a big fan of food, so that was like my favorite. And I love the fact that how diverse Canada is,
yeah.
so when I was there, I could find food from all over the world. So I literally tried food from all the way India to China.
Hmm.
Perfect experience.
Okay. Share a quick tip for fellow immigrants who are trying to adjust to a new country.
Yeah, I think sometimes we tend to think, okay, I'm just going to learn everything by myself. I think this is kind of illusion. We should
Hmm.
not be like
Yeah.
I think asking questions, trying to talk with friends, just simply ask the question, what are your advice for a new immigrant? What are
Hmm.
your advice for a new refugee? I think asking these questions will help you so much. The fact that sometimes, even myself, I find myself not asking and then spending 2 weeks trying to find a way for something. But
Mhm.
if I ask someone, it would just solve in 1 hour. So why not ask? So I think my best tip would be like always ask questions and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Hmm. Love that. Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about your first friend that you made in Canada and where did you meet them?
Yeah, my first friend. Okay. I think the first friend I met here was also Afghan. No, 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 Afghan. No, yeah, actually, yeah. I have a very good story.
Sure.
So the first friend I met was an Afghan refugee in Thunder Bay. She was also from Badakhshan, and we kind of got very close. So what happened was, my family, we are a big family. Like we have a big family members. Like we are five, like 7 people,
Mhm.
and then our room, we had like two rooms, but we used to gather all in one room. We used to come together, and then there was a lot of noise. My little sister and brother, like there was so much noise and everything. So what happens is I met this friend, and she said, "You know what? I'm all by myself. I'm alone. Why you do not join me in my room?"
Okay.
And then I said, "Amazing idea." And then I spent that 3 months in Thunder Bay with her. I used to sleep in her room, and she was an amazing chef. She used to cook so delicious food, and then I was having the best time. I was having the best food. We used to watch movies together. We used to go
Oh, wow.
explore the city like so I think the first my first friend was her name was Mushtari, that I met her in Thunder Bay, and ever since that we are even friends. I was part of the MUN in
Mhm.
Toronto. I the cost of the hotel was $200,
Mhm.
but because I knew my friend, I went to her room.
Hmm.
She has her roommates, but just because of that friend, I went to her room, and she has been super helpful, like a sister for me.
Wow, love that. Love the story. What's something that you ate for the first time in Canada?
Yeah, I tried poutine. Oh, that was like, yeah. When I came here, I started to search. Okay, what are the most famous foods in Canada? And then it started like poutine and some other food. So there was two Canadian women in Thunder Bay. They said, okay, let's take you to try poutine. And I was expecting a very like different food, a Canadian
Mhm.
food, but I just found that it's just fries and cheese. Which I said, okay, okay, you didn't try Afghani food.
Yeah, ours definitely. I would say, our Indian, even Afghan, our brown
Yeah,
food, so to say, is really good. It's full of flavor and good. Yeah.
it's quite different. It's just like fries.
Yeah. Okay. If you had to describe yourself as any creature, animal, or a bird, what would it be and why?
I love this question. My favorite animal is cat, and I love cats, and
Okay.
I think I would definitely be a cat. And I think if there's one theory that we say, okay, in the previous life I was some animal. I think I was a cat. I was a cat, and I will be a
Okay.
cat. I love cats.
Okay. Do you own a cat right now or no?
Oh, I have been insisting my mom that I want a cat, but she says no, no, no. Because I have one little sister, and then my mom said, "You already have one cat, and we don't need any more." But definitely, whenever I have a chance to be with myself, I will get not one cat, but 10 cats.
Okay, okay. These are like classic answers from our parents. We already have a dog. We have you. Why we need a dog? We
Yeah,
already have you. Why we need a cat? So it's like classic answers from our parents.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Okay. So, Mushta, if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Wow, I love this question too. I think superpowers. I love the superpower of being invisible. No, 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 not invisible. I wanted to have one invisible friend, like
Okay.
one creature, maybe like just one invisible friend who would be so like intelligent, so smart, and then that invisible friend would help me in everything.
Hmm.
Because like I wanted to have one. Like I used to watch movies, and I thought maybe like there are some invisible creatures even in the world. And I was even one time trying to connect with one, which is very scary. And then
What?
I was so scared. Yeah, like do you know that they say like there are creatures that we can't see, like ghosts and
Okay.
everything. I was thinking, what if I connect with one and that ghost would help me with my exams? They would take the exam papers and everything. But nah, that's a bad idea. But I wish I there was like an opportunity like that to have one invisible friend who can do everything and then can help you.
Okay. Don't try that ghost thing again. I would not recommend that.
I know.
Okay. If you had to create this one law that everyone has to follow, what would it be?
I think everyone should own their own businesses. Like
Hmm.
just everyone doing what they want to do and
Mhm.
not trying to sneak out on other people's like life in a way that it is not like comfortable,
Mhm.
because even in this world right now we can see that people are just okay with giving opinion, and I
Yeah.
think it is not okay to just give opinion. I think freedom and democracy does not mean that you should be so much okay to get into others people rules beliefs, because we're just different. Like people come from different culture, and if you are expressing your culture in any way, either it is dressing in a different way, either it is speaking in a different way,
Yeah.
I think no one should be allowed to like stop you. So I think that one rule would be respecting everything,
Yeah.
everyone, and just everyone should own their own businesses.
Yeah. Perfect. Love the answer. Okay. So, Mushta, the home is where the heart is. And if you had to choose one thing that makes you feel most home in Canada, what would it be?
I love like poetry sometimes. No, no, Afghani music.
Okay.
Afghani music. Yeah, I think whenever I play Afghani music, they just like bring me back home, and
Hmm.
I don't know, like that's a very feeling. And also, I have I want to show it
Sure.
here. It is in my table. So I have this kind of like carpet,
Okay.
like little
Yeah.
carpet. Yeah, I got this from Afghanistan. So it is like a piece of home. I have it
Hmm.
like in my
Love
table.
that.
So it's kind of always when I see it, it's like giving me that vibe of my country. I love culture, so I
Yeah.
love like carpets. So it's kind of give me home,
Amazing.
feeling of home.
Yeah. Okay. So, describe Canada in one word or a sentence.
Peaceful. I think peaceful, yeah. I love the fact that how people are living in harmony. The fact that when I was in a country like Afghanistan, I
Hmm.
thought like let's say Christians or Muslims would never
Live
live in a
together. Yeah.
classroom together or live in a place together. But when you come here and then like in our school, in one class, like I have a classmate who is Jew, I have a classmate who is, like, for example, Hindu. I have
Yeah.
a classmate who is Muslim. Like, all people together, like different skin colors, different cultures, and everyone is okay. Like, this teaches something that, like, all the how politics can be scary.
Yeah.
That, people are trying to stop us to be together, but when you go in a classroom, you see people don't have any problem. Like, people are just people. So I
Yeah.
think I love the harmony and peace in here.
Absolutely. Can't agree more. So, if you could leave me, Mushtab, in one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think I really love the fact that you started this like podcast, like my thick accent, and I want you to keep doing this. I think it is, as I just mentioned before, like our cultures, our things that are differentiate us from the others. It does not mean that it make us to be like so separate us, but cultures can bring people together. Like, if I am from Afghanistan, it's very important that how can I learn to deal with other
Yeah.
cultures, learn from different cultures. And I really love the work that you are doing, so I think just keep doing it, and you're doing amazing job.
Awesome. Thank you. And finally, how would you describe your experience of being on this podcast?
Amazing. Wonderful. I think I was previously in one podcast, but I wasn't maybe like that comfortable in a way, that because it maybe was my first experience. But I've had like the most amazing conversation, and it was like the questions, the way you speak, everything you ask, very amazing. So yeah, thank you so much for that.
Awesome. Thank
It
you.
was a
Thank you for
wonderful.
your kind words, Mushta. And thank you for being on the podcast, or how you taught me initially. You said Tashikor, right? Tashikor, which means
Yeah,
thank you. So thank you.
great memory.
No, I'm not that smart. I have my notes here. But yeah, if you say yes, I did remember that. So Tashikor, and thank you for adding value to my listeners. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that.